This is a video on how to make a paper rocket. We're going to first start with regular paper. We also need tape. I prefer cellophane. We'll need scissors and some thicker paper. I also like to use a compass, and we will also need to use a tube the same size as our launch tube. In this case, this is a 1/2 inch PVC. It is also helpful to have a Kleenex, just one will do, for wadding to help fill the tube to keep the air inside. Okay, so this is a rocket that will be launched under compressed air. Alright, to begin with, I'll move all this stuff out of the way, except for the paper. And what I like to do is I like to present an edge, this edge here and this one here, that will be covered with tape. So I'll take a strip of tape that goes the length of one edge, and notice I have it taped side down against the paper, and I'll try to just press on the paper, not on the tabletop that I'm using. I'd like it to stick nicely to the paper and not to the table. Then I'll do a second piece that goes along this edge, and when I roll this here in just a moment, it presents a nice sealed edge. So now I'll use the tube, and I'm going to roll it this way, being very careful to keep it even with the tube, even pressure along the whole way. And really what I've done is I've taped the inside of the tube and made a nice seal, and then I just need a little bit of tape here to keep it from unrolling. So there's the body tube. Now I'll trim off at least one end. Some like to keep one of the ones pointy, but I like to do both, like this. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to check to see if it is a good fit, and this one is. Sometimes one end will be a little thinner than the other. It's important to make sure that the tube fits all the way in for when we do the launching. Now the next step is to take some tissue and crumple it up and put it in on one end of the tube. I prefer to do the end that the cone is going to be on. And then I will take two strips of tape to hold it in place. One like this, the other this way. And then to hold it securely, I'll take another piece, a little bit longer, and I will go all the way around the outside edge, like that. Okay, now for the nose cone. I'll set the body tube aside, and I'll use some thicker paper. Now what I want to do is adjust a compass about the same length of the nose cone. In this case I want one that's fairly long. And then it's easier if I do a half circle. So I'm going to just pick an edge here, like this, and I'm going to draw a half circle. It can be done with as little as a quarter circle, but the half circle will suit. It'll be easier to do. Okay, so go ahead and cut this along the edge. It's nice to have it round. It's not absolutely critical, as you'll see a little bit later. I'll set this paper aside for now. Okay, so now I want to crease this edge of the circle, the half circle, to be the point of my nose cone, like that. And I'm going to roll it around one of my fingers. Seen it done around a thumb. And I want to go about the same circumference as the outside edge of the rocket. And before I tape it here, I want to grab my rocket and see how close I am. And I'm just about there. I can go just a tad larger if I want to have it just outside. That looks good. Now I will use some tape to seal this edge off. Some experiments have shown that if you add a little bit of weight, some clay, maybe a little dirt or something in the tip of this nose cone right in here, that it may fly more stable. I'm not sure if it'll go farther, but it's worth experimenting. Okay, now I need to attach the nose cone to the body. Now notice if I leave it flat on the ground, on the tabletop like this, if I were to tape it that way, the cone would be at an angle, making the rocket fly goofy. So I'm first going to just do a little bit of tape to attach it like this. And then what I want to do is I want to roll it this way on the table and just notice where this tip is and try to keep it about the same distance from the table each time. And then once I find where it's about centered, I'll put another piece of tape. Now I've seen other students who have done this, and they look at it straight up like this and they turn it around to see how straight it is. Whatever method works best for you. And now this is just to keep the nose cone on. So I'll put a few strips of tape here just to secure it nicely. It won't have a lot of pressure on it until it lands. Typically, if you've built it right, it'll come down and this point will strike into the earth. Okay, now for the fins. I'm going to set the body tube aside and prepare some fins. Now, it's usually a good idea not to go to extremes. Big, really big fins or really small fins. Something in between, of course. So I'm just going to cut some paper out, and then I'm going to fold this into thirds. And I'm going for a moderate sized fin that's just, I'm going for 3 fins, so I just want to be able to reproduce them accurately. So we'll cut one, just a nice straight edge, like this. I'll discard this part. And then I'm going for the general shape. I'm going to go like this. And then I still have a crease right here, so I want to cut that one like this. And then I want to just trim the edge off on the bottom like that. Okay, so now I should have 3 equal pieces. Okay, the next thing I need to do is to make sure that my fins are placed on the cone, not on the cone, on the body evenly. I'll first look at the bottom of the body tube. I'll make one mark here, and then what I want to do is I'm going to estimate about thirds, and like this. So just transfer those marks on the outside, and I'm looking at it from downwards. I think I need to go over just a little bit more on this one. Okay, now that I've got my marks of where I want my fins, now I want them parallel to the body tube, because the tube is fairly straight and the table is straight. So is this tube here, I'll just take and mark at the place that I want my fin, like this, to get them to be straight. Okay, now for taping them on. I'm going to kind of rough guess. I really don't want them to go on this way. I think my design, I'd like to have them go on that way. And so I'm going to place all of my fins that way just so that I don't forget. And I'll take a fairly long piece of tape. Can go as long as the side of the fin there. And then I'm going to place the fin so that it goes to just the bottom of the body tube, and then I'll press the tape down. And if I wait to do the second step and do all of the fins this way, it'll be easier. So I'll go ahead and do another one. And this one probably had a little bit better tape length. It just is a little longer. That's great. And see how I place the fin so that it's right along that line, and so that it starts at the base right here of the body tube. And then I'll do one more like this. Okay, like that. And if it's nice, it's kind of nice to have this tube here to press firmly on the tape so that it sticks nicely. Okay, now to make the fins stand up. So I'll use some tape here. And I want to place the fin flat the other direction. Put the tape just on the fin, not on the tube. And then I'll pull the tape until the fin is standing perpendicular to the tube, the rocket tube, body tube. That's it. Okay, let's do it again. Same thing here. Now, I almost had it go crinkly. I just want it to go nice and straight. And I'll do one more time. Just like this. Now, features that make rockets go taller, go higher, are places that don't stick out. Like this part right here, this leading edge is a little bit loose. I might want to tape that just to keep it from flopping. I don't want to overdo my tape. If I do that, then sometimes it can affect the flight. I've seen some students try to do it with an entire roll of tape. It's kind of wasteful, and it doesn't seem to work very well. So I've got this one going. I've kind of created a little bit more of a fin, but I think that's okay. Just nice that the tip edge on that particularly is nice and straight, attached. Okay. All right, so that is my rocket. And I can test it to see if it's working well. Push the wadding all the way in there like that. Take it and blow on this edge. And it will fly pretty well. All right. Thanks for watching.